I did talk to the guy about how their policy is set up on Friday night, and they say at sometime 3 in the morning or something, they're gonna reboot the machines, and they'll give you about a 10-minute warning, and then they reboot. And so since nobody's on the machine at 3:30 in the morning, nobody will see that warning. So it's absolutely essential that you push your code and exit your virtual machine before you leave class today. Because otherwise, if they reboot it while you're in the middle, the number one thing that happens is that if Git is in the midst of something, not all settled down, the Git files tend to get corrupted. That's the one that I see the most when people let that happen, or so I think. I mean, I'm not there when it happens, but so let's do that. There was something else I wanted to mention, and I go too fast, and I know that, and I apologize for going too fast. But a couple caveats to talk about what I really mean in terms of the whole class, not just one person, right? The whole class. What is my policy on going too fast? Is that people can raise their hands and say, Charlie, please slow down. And I will try to slow down most of the time. Sometimes, the deal is, programming is just hard. And I don't know why it's so hard, but it is. And like, let's say you want to be a novelist, and you say, I want to be the next Stephen King, right? Well, your odds of ever becoming the next Stephen King are, well, they're 1 in 300 million. There's only one Stephen King. You know, it's very, very low. And the odds that you'll even make a career as a novelist is very, very low. It's in that 1 in a million odds. It can happen, and you can be doing great work, and then they discover it, you know, after you're gone, and they say, wonderful work. Too bad he never got any attention for it when he was alive, you know. It's just a really tough world. The programming world, and the people who do succeed in the writing world, they just work hard, right? They write book after book after book. They're pushing, they just are totally dedicated to it. There are exceptions, but that's the general rule. Those people who really succeed. And the programming world is much better. There's hundreds of thousands, I think millions of jobs as developers. And in the tech industry, there's certainly millions of jobs out there. And your odds of getting there are good. But it is another one of those professions where to really get hired and succeed requires a lot of effort. It just doesn't happen. And what I think about it is, there's like two things. One, you just have to be maybe part workaholic, maybe even part hermit. You know, you just go, sorry, dear lovely spouse who's the light of my life, but I'd really rather spend this morning just sitting here in front of my computer programming, and then we'll go do something this afternoon, but I need a little time. You have to you don't have to be like that, but usually the people who succeed are a little bit like that. And and then the other thing, besides that kind of workaholic thing, is this passion. You just love it, right? And I see it in the eyes of the people in the class who love it. You know, they just go, I love this stuff. I want to be good at it. This really means something to me. And that just means everything to me, right? I go, I can sense your passion. I see you want to do it. I see you want to succeed. I'm going to help you succeed. And I will do what I can to help you succeed. And usually the reason that passion is so important is because the people who have that passion, they go home after work, after school, and they go, well,
they do some more.
They do some more. Yeah, they just do some more. One way or another, they go, well, it's dinner, it's everything, but now it's 8 o'clock, the kids are in bed, and you know, I really want to spend a couple hours just that whatever we were doing in class, in whichever class, I'm not saying my class, in whichever class, or maybe something that's nothing to do with my classes or any class you're taking here, but you just want to be on the computer doing something. And those people are the ones who get good at it. Why? Because they just practice it, right? They get good at it. And then if I'm going, sometimes when I'm going too fast in class, right? I'm going too fast for one person, too slow for another, about right for others. It's hard. And I can't always slow it down for the slowest person in the class, but I wouldn't promise to slow down if I thought I was talking to the slowest person in the class, right? I just wouldn't do that. Usually I see that light in people's eyes. It tells me they really want to work. And I see the effort. I can see that they're, sometimes I can see it a number of ways. Sometimes it's just in Git, right? I see, oh my God, look, he checks in like every 2 or 3 hours all Saturday afternoon. This guy was working like crazy. And, or whatever. And then you go, well, let's put energy into that person. But you can't put huge amounts of energy. I mean, often I give assignments that are meant to be done in class, and then I say they're due on Sunday, right? And so we'll work on them in class, and hopefully you'll get everything done. But if you didn't get something done, you still have 4 or 5 days to ask questions in the discussion area and to talk to your classmates, which I definitely encourage, and try to find a way to get it. I'm not making excuses for me going too fast. I do go too fast sometimes, but I want to just put caveats on that. Sometimes I'll go, no, I don't think I'm going to slow down right now. Let's just move on because we got stuff we have to cover. So, okay, enough on that. Does that make any sense on the speed thing at all? I'm shooting, for the absolute median in the class. And sometimes I go too fast or too slow for that. And certainly you're welcome at any time to raise your hand and say, I think this is going too fast, but you can't say, you're going too fast, now you will stop. Absolutely, because I am now in charge of the class. I am now the temporary teacher here, and you're going to do what I say now. We can't do that. But, okay, enough of all that. I just wanted to say that. I should probably add that this is like a very good class. I don't have really any complaints about anybody in this class. I really like the students in this class. It's a joy to work with all of you, and I really enjoy it. I like being in here. And some of you are really a trip to work with because you're very enthusiastic and you just got lots of energy, and I go wonderful. Then the third thing I want to say, I am sick to dawn, right? Okay, I'm really sick today. So we might not go the whole time, which is the good news, bad news. Bad news, I'm sick. The good news is you might get out early today. The other bad news is it might affect your the extra help session. But you don't want to be with me leaning over your shoulder today. You just don't want it. It's just not something you want, right? And so we'll go do that. I have put up Oh, wait.
And then it's like, oh, I did it right. There's no merging. Yes, finally.
I got my address test.
Oh.
Alright, so we may work on my laptop today. I'm really
our
myself
address,
today.
because it's not ready.
So now I just
SSH.
I need to add that to the bash file. I did it on the.
So there's a new assignment that will be a continuation of our current assignment, the one we're working on. So we might want to tag everything for right now.
I got it to work this time.
Does it show up in gifts? I guess I didn't make a connection.
Yeah, I had it go to work on this one.
Oh, you have to do the same thing on that.
Um,
Oh, that's a good question.
He teaches a lot of classes.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had 10
so this new assignment is called Address Components Refined. So we'll do some work on the address components, just continue where we left off on Thursday, on Monday, and then we'll, there'll be more for you to work on over the weekend, or if we have time, we'll work on it in class today. Okay, so let's do this tag. What is it, get tag dash A, and I can look at all my tags with the dash N1, get tag dash N1, and I see that my next tag would be version 3.0.2, and yours doesn't have to. I'm not interested that it have the same number as mine, but maybe write a little description describing what it is you're doing. So get tag dash A version 3.0.2, and then dash M, and we can write starting class on Wednesday. And then we should be able to, can anybody remember how it goes? It's like get origin, then the name of the tag, is that it? Let's see.
Git push
Oh, get push.
origin.
Is that it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well,
Let's try that. I think I meant to write 2, right? Oh, I need to make sure I have loaded my, so permission denied, public key, we get this message sometimes, and it's because I haven't loaded my private key from my .ssh directory, which I tried to set it up so you could just type SSH add and it would go. And now we'll try again, and this time we finally get that button pushed up there. Okay. So that kind of gives us a mark of where you were in the beginning of class. And you're welcome to add more tags, but give them a description, you know. Just turned in assignment for, you know, address components might be a good tag to create when you turn it in so that you've got something. I think everybody saw that I pushed out the assignment that was due on Tuesday until Thursday, so it gives you more time to work on it.
You didn't change it.
No, I don't think so. I don't tend to, I do sometimes change an assignment, but I don't tend to change it. What I do sometimes is add things to it, like somebody will tell me,
That's change.
No, that's good. I add something to it as in the sense that, oh, well, somebody had pointed up there how to delete a key if you wanted to, and maybe I'd say, that's a good tip. I'd add that in the git tag section, and I add that in. Now I've added something. I haven't changed the assignment any, but I've changed, I've given you more information, or everybody's getting stuck with this error that says, can't find .app.js and ./JS. Well, why don't you try, doing this fix? I add those kind of changes. If I do make an assignment change, that means so I add more hints to the assignment, would be a better way to describe it. If I do make changes that mean I'm changing what's due, it's on the announcement section. It's big, it's large, and I say, sorry, I just forgot to do so and so or such and such. But as I said earlier, you should check the announcement section about 6 days a week. I mean, everybody needs a day totally off, but you should at least check it 5 days a week, and probably 6 days a week to see if Charlie has come up with some bizarre announcement that's important, which could be pushing it out, right? The last 2 announcements I think I've done where I pushed this thing out, So it's not necessarily a bad thing that I've done that. So you all aren't using branches, but I am. No, not at all. And then if you do use branches, when you turn it in, say, in folder such and such on branch such and such, then I'll know where to go to look for it. And no, I would love it if you did that. That would be great, yeah. So I'm checking out, which I think will be where we were at the end of class on Monday. Let's see if I'm guessing this right, if I've got. One thing always remember to do is do a git pull and make sure you've got the most recent, right? Because you might well have pushed while you were at school. It doesn't matter if the IDE is open and even that project's open in the IDE, still do a git pull so that you can get the most recent. All right, so now we're asking the node package manager, npm, to start our project. And I'm sure you recall that if you cat package.json, you can see what the actual command is that's being run when we run git start. So it's this script section, and when we run git test, it's that thing that gets run. So you can always see what start is, and you can certainly change it. If you add a new one, git start and git test, you can do npm start, npm test. If you've added another one, like you've added my funky test in there, but you just wanted to put in because it does some specific thing, then you should do npm run my funky test. Okay, you add that run keyword in there, and then it'll run something that's not one of the standard ones like start and test. So we run npm start, and
the week.
in theory, it should pop up in our browser after a period of time. It's another reason to switch over to the laptop, is it's much faster than this. We don't have these huge delays, but so it still says down at the bottom left, waiting for localhost, so it hasn't been added. Now it has. And then the first thing you should do when you load it is press F12 and see if you've got any errors that are coming out. Thought we should have seen one. Let's look at the code here.
NPM, right?
Yeah, I'm in the wrong branch. So I'll go back down. I'll do a Control C, and I'll do git checkout. Oh, yeah. So if you don't see the branch you're looking for, do git branch dash A. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you gonna?
Yeah, it's, I'm not,
We've got water stormwater.
Charlie, didn't we have a different folders under the source, so we put the apps?
Yeah, we had the components folder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and right now, I think I'm missing that clearly in this project, which was my clue that I have the wrong project. And, so let me see, maybe I just didn't push everything over here.
And one more question, shouldn't the in source be just the one HTML file and everything else should be in their own folders, or is it overkill?
Well, I think we're gonna work towards that today. I think you're right. At least get closer to that to help organize our folders, and that'll be one of our goals today. It's part of that refined assignment.
Understood, thank you.
Yeah, no, good point.
let me see.
Yes.
Charlie, is there another command for NPM besides start?
She's got an error message.
Well, there's test.
Yeah, nothing works.
It's got a bunch of
Okay,
NPM
let
errors.
me,
Make sure you're in the root of your,
I am in that, I am there.
where you are.
Yes, I am.
Try NPM start. Yeah, that's what you did in
Yeah.
errors. Does it start on the laptop version?
All right, let's see.
Well, this is fine.
Maybe at the reams. If you can just type and see space W tab, no, we're not. Space W tab. See how it finds it?
Yeah.
And there you go. Oh, sure.
That should be the.
Oh, we hit start.
It's really like we're ready to just take everything and shut it down. Yeah, that should be.
You have the same error?
Mm-hmm.
You can make an alias, right? Type
The
in,
same.
so it didn't conflict with the real.
Fail?
oh, I know one other thing I wanted to say about the,
It might be this.
going too fast thing. You probably remembered my talk on the very first day when I said week 3, week 4 are the danger areas. That's when people usually are the most frustrated and they go, I'll never get this. They're trying to learn code, they're trying to learn Git. Week 3 is complicated. A lot of people start turning the corner in week 4. By week 5, most people have turned the corner and start feeling happier. So it's kind of natural
Let me see what you
that
have.
you know, a lot of people will feel fuzzy. And it's unfair because some people know Git already. All right, so I don't think I pushed my stuff.
Yeah, I could start.
So I pull it, and now when I do git branch dash A, I can see the last one.
What's all this?
So git
That's from.
checkout
That's a compliment.
week 03 in class,
That might be your words issue.
and
The other day. I think it's.
Will WebStorm auto
That's what's
refresh, or
stopping
do
me
you have to
from
point it to your filter again?
Yeah.
Those, I think
Um,
those are done by.
you should be able to, it should refresh itself automatically. If it's not refreshing itself automatically, this is, I believe, where we were when class ended this week.
Yeah,
We
it's
were
in
getting this
JSON.
warning. So if you get this warning or any warning, you need to, when you start running your app, press F12 to bring up the developer tools and look on the console page, this page here, and make sure that you've, that you don't have any warnings or errors. Now, is it fatal if you had a warning in Pharo when you turn to class and a warning in particular? No, it's not fatal, but it's best if it comes in clean. So you ought to check that. You should also check the command line.
says it's just unnecessary.
Well, then you can delete the code that's unnecessary. I don't know how it is. I know. I mean, you don't have to do anything, but
I think this is the problem, because it's telling me that the problem is in the, you know, JSON.
okay, right. You've done a merge, and you need to clean up the merge there. So you want to get rid of the older version. So start on line 9
9, okay.
and go down through the
Red?
the two paragraphs. No, the double underline.
Okay.
No, you're going too far. Double underline. Go to the end of the double underline. No,
Oh, that one?
line
That
12.
one, right there.
Yeah. Okay, then just hit delete. And now go to line 11 and press Control X to delete that line. Oh, wait, there's still something wrong because you need, yeah, you need dev dependencies. Hit Control Z twice. I might have asked you to delete too much. Hit it again. Yeah, okay, so don't get dev dependencies. Start on line 10 and through the double headlines. Yeah,
5 ends on 2.2.
yeah. And that's what she's saving
And
there.
then 12.
Control X to get rid of it. Do you understand what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm getting rid of the stuff that happened with my merge when I was
You've got it.
messy, because it's stopping me here from getting onto NPM because it's a problem in the JSON file.
You've got it. Good work. It's not a bad idea to now go to code reformat. And then that just cleans everything up. It's a very nice feature.
My stuff gets
Okay, so now let me try to get back on.
Try it again. Okay. So our warning here, which, by the way, I believe also will show up at our command line. We're also getting the same warning. Address is assigned a value but never used.
This one.
I mean, obviously, this isn't terribly serious. It's not going to break your app if you've got a dead code that you're not using. In our particular case, we do want to start using address. We were learning how to pass parameters, and we learned how to pass a single parameter, first name equals foobar. And what we want to do now is pass an object instead of just a first name. So that thing that's not being used, we can start using. And let's come down here. It's always good to have 1, but not 2 lines between it. And then say something like addresses equals my object. And because it's code and we want to put it in the middle, yes, exactly. Because we curly braces, because we're using code in the middle of our JSX, we want to do something like that, because it's saying substitute, it's a template. When you compile this, plug in address right there.
Is the mustache syntax, is that React or is it ES?
Mustache?
Yeah.
It's just yet another template.
Div.
It is.
Yeah,
No, I'm saying, I'm sorry, are the curly brace uses here, is that a React aspect or is it?
this is a React thing.
It is.
Yeah, because, well, it's not even really a React thing because we're in the JSX. And JSX is made by Facebook, but they made it a separate project from React, so it's actually a separate thing.
So it can function independently.
Yes, that's correct. You can use that without using React. You can use JSX without using React.
Okay.
And so now, we want to do a number of things. We want to come back here, and it does, after a long period of time, refresh itself. And now, this is not an error, right? This is simply saying that we did get some information back, and we got a thing called addresses, and the addresses are first name and last name. I guess it doesn't quite make sense. Maybe we ought to, for now,
Where does addresses come from? I don't recall.
why don't we call it address rather than addresses? I think we'll change that maybe later.
Oh, okay.
So we are declaring a property of this HTML5 tag called address, we're passing in from here to address what are called props, properties. So there are two big things you have to understand about React in data. One are called state, which we've been playing with some, and the other is called properties, props. And if we go to our address component, you can see that we are now added to our constructor props, which says we are accepting props from the owner of this. They're being passed in. And we saw where they were being passed in index.js. And we should be able to now, we need to, it might take me a moment to get this. It might be props.address.last name is the right syntax. It might take me a moment to get it, but I think that's the way we've ended up passing this in. So what we're doing is initializing the first name and the last name. Before I go wrestle with whether I've got the syntax right, let me talk more about the difference between properties, props, and state. State can be changed. Props are immutable. You don't change props, okay? So in other words, when properties get passed into the address object, we're not allowed to change them. We have to ask the owner, which would be in our case index.js, to make that change. And we probably won't get to that today, but we will. So the difference is immutable versus mutable. State is the data in your program that'll change. Props are data that won't change. Now, what might be props here could be state and another component, in which case that other component could change it. Yes?
So basically what you're saying, once you pass the object, it is what it is. However, if you want to change the props, you have to ask the object to get the function to change the property of this object that you are passing to.
That's
right?
correct.
Thank you.
But we know that state we can change. So these statements, set state, would fail, partly because they're props, not state. But if you tried to change props, it would fail, it would blow up, because they're read-only. But state you can change. And so that's why we're initializing our properties, the ones that we might want to change, with the props that came in. This idea of immutability, I need to sit down and have a good read before I get into it too deeply. But the basic idea of immutable objects is they're simple. If you've got an object that can't change, it's very hard to break it. Okay? Because you can't like say, oh, the state of my object's going to change. Am I covering all the possible things that when the state of that object change? Because it's a property, it can't change. If you've got properties, they're immutable, so you won't be allowed to change it. It can make objects very robust, very hard to break. There was a question back here?
Yeah,
Jeff.
so I'm confused why you say immutable, because in other languages, that just means that if you do change it, it's gonna make a copy of it first.
Yes, and there are ways, in fact, to send a message back to the initial object and ask it to change, but inside of here, immutable means we can't change it inside of this object.
It's more, almost like you're saying it's a constant.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's saying we aren't gonna change the props in here, but we can set ourselves up to be allowed to do it by assigning props to state, change the props, and then we can call back, if somebody wants to change something, we can call back on the server and ask it to change it. It's another classic area where there's problems. If you allow one object to change another object's fields, chaos amounts, right? Because you can't know what that other object did to your data. Somebody could misuse it badly and come up with situations you never predicted. And at best, you end up with endless if statements going, well, if they try to do this, if they try to do that, don't, not do it. But having immutable data passed in is, makes it
A lot safer.
a lot safer, a lot more robust. And I put an asterisk in front of that when I said that's the general idea. And then I will do more research on this particular thing and understand exactly how, more about the theory of immutable objects and more about the way they're treated here. But for now, you can at least get the pattern of what is generally done with it. And that's probably enough for right now. So let's see if we hopelessly, I don't know whether I've got code that works or not. Seems to be working, right? So that was a valid way to initialize the first name and last name of that particular object, because it worked. Okay. Yeah.
Quick question, can you go back to your code?
Yeah.
So, okay, with, passing the props to the constructor,
Mhm.
and we're passing that to super,
Yeah,
that's to set this,
correct.
okay. That is there a benefit in doing it that way versus not passing props to super?
I don't know the full answer to that, but I think that there might be things that React wants to do to manage your properties. And unless you pass them back to the component object, it won't know to do those things.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
because it does work.
Yeah.
And it functions, and in the React documentation, will show it without passing it to super, and then not referencing this dot props dot, et cetera.
I'll look into it and
But
see.
yeah, and I wasn't sure.
I believe that the right thing to do is this. And if I'm wrong, I'll back out. As I say, I'm learning about this stuff, but this is close enough to the right syntax to get us going
This is
here.
at least more preferred at this point.
I think it is, yes. And if I'm wrong, I'll change, but that's what we got going right now.
Okay, cool.
So, right now, we've got this working. The other thing we want to check is, are our tests still running?
Since we just changed the initial value, we're probably going to need to modify the test to do the initial check.
We certainly are going to need to look at it and see, did it break any of our tests? And that's what our tests are about, is to see, were we potentially breaking any code when we made a change? We want to feel secure A, making changes to our code so that we can add new features, and B, refactoring our code so we can make it cleaner and easier to read. And with tests, we can feel some security about that, because our tests, at least in theory, should catch when we make a change and we've broken something.
Maybe this is more appropriate for the discussion board, so stop me if this is a.
No, it's good.
It occurred to me to wonder, it seems like the error messages we get from this are not terribly descriptive. Sometimes they just say error and such and so, and you go find it. And I'm thinking, well, Chrome, for example, some of the other browsers actually have more specific errors that I find helpful when debugging. So I'm just wondering, are there other tools like this test suite that provide more descriptive, user-friendly error messages?
Well, one thing to look at is, let me see where I talk about it. I usually find in here, in the assignment we worked on Monday, there are at the very beginning, two error messages that this is a case where I've added something to the assignment since we did it, which doesn't change what the assignment does, but it gives you hints to help you solve problems. And I've gotten errors that say E no space, and I can't figure out for the life of me what that error is. And another one that I get is this prop single node error. And this is the one that I see the most and that I find the most cryptic of the errors. It says method props is only meant to be run on a single node, 0 found instead. And I usually see that error when I'm running my unit tests and I scroll up and I'm looking up here, and somewhere up here I find this error being thrown, maybe in this error, so it's not here. but this is the kind of place where that error might show up. And it's very painful to try to fix because you have no idea what it is that's gone wrong. But what it usually means is in your test, you tried to get to button.foo, button #foo, got to a button that had an ID of foo. And in your actual implementation, you called the ID bar, so it couldn't find it. And in that case, it tends to throw this method props is only meant to be run on a single node, 0 found instead. And the fix is have it not look for foo, which doesn't exist, but look for bar. Does that make sense? So, well, I don't want to throw the error right now because we have other things to fix. And then this other one, if you get this no space, you need to open up syscontrol.com and add this line to it. Do it with sudo, open it up in nano, no, you shouldn't have to. It's only if you see the error, and it's sort of specific to WebStorm. You usually don't hit it outside of WebStorm, but WebStorm opens so many files sometimes that the operating system runs out of nodes to keep track of them on. So you make this change. Here's the command, sudo node nano. So we're opening up an editor called nano, and you get prompted for your password, which in your case would be BC user. And then you're into the lovable nano editor, okay? And the lovable nano editor was probably written sometime in the 70s. So things that we would expect an editor to do, like have Control S as the save, they don't. They do Control O for save. And they call it write out rather than save. Why did they do this? Because they wrote it back in the 70s and this thing hadn't become a standard back then. And Nano ships with almost every copy, at least of Ubuntu Linux. So it's very common. It's much better than trying to learn VI or VIM. It's great to learn that, but you don't really want to wrestle with it. And you can press Control O to save it. It'll pop up the name of the file. You press Enter to make the save, and then Control X to exit. Do you see this? Control X to exit. Control G can get you help. Basically, you just need Control O to save your edits.
So the caret symbol basically means control?
Yeah, it means control. Exactly. And this is, looks like I haven't done it on this machine, so I guess I could if I wanted to go crazy. What do I say? You paste it in, make sure you've got at least one character line. Then you do the Control O, and what it says is this is the file you want to write. It gives you the file name, it gives you a chance to decide. And I go, yes, that is.